know, it's an interesting place for sure.
There may not seem a whole lot to it.
It's a little town out in the middle of absolutely nowhere.
Didn't really know what to expect when I got there.
Some call it a township. Some call it a village. Either way, if you blink, you might miss it.
Honestly though, it's a cute little town.
But this place has character, and its heartbeat is found up Henry Street.
Driving, going, I call Dad and I'm like, I don't think there's a rink out here. Like, there's no way there's a rink out in the middle of the bush. And then sure enough, you open up in this little town.
Probably to this day, still my favorite rink.
This is Athens, Ontario, home to the Arrows.
Welcome to Center 76, home of the Athens Arrows. Shot right on, scored! The crowd is going wild.
Athens has proudly hosted a Junior B team since 1968. Originally known as the Flyers, the team changed its name to the Arrows in 1975. A community-owned team, the loyalty and dedication from the locals is unmatched.
You know, it's a partnership between the team and the community, and I think the community, it's to them, it's a real gem.
Throughout the years, the town has seen endless volunteers give their time for the love of the team. Perhaps none more than Jimmy Hudson.
I think Jimmy was there probably around 35 to 40 years. Like, he was there for a long time.
That rink and that team, I think, played a huge role in that man's life, and you could tell.
And Jimmy was not a guy that went to just the home games. He went to almost every away game. He was very reliable, and just he loved hockey. I guess just like any hockey organization, you have volunteers who are the face of the franchise. And, you know, Jimmy was for the Arrows.
With such great community support, players felt like they were playing much higher than Junior B hockey.
We used to play on Sunday nights, and what else are you going to do in Athens on a Sunday night?
As a fan, you would have to get there before the players even got there because there'd be a lineup outside.
You've got 300 people in the stands. Like, it doesn't sound like a lot, but small rink looked like you were playing in like the Scotiabank place.
The players there are treated like, you know, like NHL players to the kids that are in that town.
You know, there was one time I was 16 and we were leaving the rink and we were at the gas station, like a convenience store there, like grabbing like a Gatorade or something. Some little kid comes flying in the door. He's like, hey, you play for the Arrows, right? I'm like, yeah, like I'm like 16, you know what I mean? I was like the first month I was there. He's like, hey, can I get your autograph? I was like, sure, like nobody's ever asked for my autograph before, obviously, right?
You know, I think it's very special to see the young kids, you know, as those players kind of going on the ice or off the ice. You kind of, you know, they do that fist pump. I know, I think it's a big thing for the little kids, but I know the players enjoy that just as much.
Becomes your NHL, you know, like, especially like when the bigger games happening against like Westport on like, you know, a Sunday night, like the place was packed.
Located over an hour from Ottawa and 45 minutes from Kingston, Athens isn't situated in an ideal spot to recruit players from bigger cities. But this hurdle was one that former general manager Bob Seed was determined to clear.
It's hard to say that there's any better GM in junior history than Bob Seed.
Nobody really heard about Athens. And Bobby recruited guys to drive an hour and a half.
As far as local players, I mean, we had some, but we didn't really have the nucleus really to build a contender. So my goal obviously was to go to Ottawa and do my recruitment. Going to junior A camps, talking to kids, talking to parents. The main goal was all about winning. That's what I kind of want to promote, that atmosphere and appetite onto the players too.
He was a salesman.
Bobby was just so smart. Like he knew the game inside out. He knew what he needed. He had a good relationship, I think, with coaches. He had an excellent relationship with players. I don't know of any player that had anything bad to say about Bobby.
He was such a good guy to be around, you know, walk in. Every time I walked into the rink, it was a handshake and how are you? How's your mom and dad?
Just an all-around great guy, and obviously pretty good at putting some pretty good hockey teams together as well.
I mean, I looked at us as a family. We spent a lot of time together, and I think the respect went both ways. I had a lot of respect for the players, for the commitment they made to me and to the heroes. Then was my turn to return that commitment by building a good team.
Along with Bob Seed, former president Norm Racine was determined to make Athens a desirable place to play.
For us to recruit players and get them and keep them, we had to do something different. So we always treated the players with respect, built a culture of winning around that, and that's how we were able to build our teams. As a president, I wanted to make sure I surrounded myself with really good people, and Bobby Seed was one of them, very knowledgeable at hockey, and Bobby and I got along very, very well.
You know, we were driven the same way. We were on the same path to bring, you know, winning hockey back to Athens.
For what they have to work with out there, like, they did an unbelievable job.
Well, I guess I really promoted the small town community. You know, our local team, small town like it is, really supported the team.
It take an hour and like 10 minutes to get there. You'd start passing like some of the familiar highways, and then you'd see the sign on the right saying Township of Athens, and like you'd get in there and you're like, all right, it's fucking game time. The drives were always worth it.
Prior to 2015, the Eastern Ontario Junior Hockey League was divided by two conferences: the Rideau St. Lawrence Conference and the Metro Valley Conference. Save for a couple of showcase games, the teams would only play amongst their conference during the regular season. Each conference bore the name of its two divisions. Come playoff time, 4 teams would qualify per division. The first round of the playoffs would be played within each division. The second round would also be played within each division and determine the 4 division winners. The third round would determine the champion of each conference. And the fourth round would determine the winner of the D. Arnold Carson Trophy as league champion. In the 2008, 2010, and 2011 playoffs, the Arrows would win the second round and hoist the Gill Cup, awarded to the Rideau Division champions. Led by forwards Stephen Parker and Dan Lacroix, the Arrows enjoyed deep playoff runs in those years.
I will maintain that I'm probably the most privileged player to ever play in Athens, and just because of all of the incredible players I got to play with and be surrounded with. Just before I got to Athens, the team started to turn things around. I think they went from dead last without winning any real games to being a real playoff contender, and so I was really fortunate to be on a good team throughout the years.
However, in each of those 3 seasons, the Arrows were unable to advance to the 4th round and league finals, something the team last achieved in 1994. Entering his last season of eligibility for Junior B, Captain Stephen Parker was determined to get over the hump of the conference finals.
In your overage year, you always want to make it as memorable as possible.
You mentioned character and talent and skills, power forward. Steve was the total package. Just a great player, great personality.
Bob and Norm would sign 8 rookies in the offseason, including Athens local Emerson Moulton.
A local boy, done well. Played with a lot of emotion. He always put the opposition, I think, on notice just because of the way he played. He was physical, he was in your face.
The Arrows would also receive a big jolt in their lineup with the return of playmaking center Pat Cameron, who played the previous season in Junior A.
I would call Patty like the silent assassin, in a sense that he could kill the opposition in so many ways. He would get some timely goals, he was a great passer, and you didn't have to say a word. He just did his job.
As the season neared its start, the Arrows still had a couple more roster spots available.
Terrible to say. My dad ran over me with a tractor during our playoff run, man. Like, he ran over my foot and I couldn't fit it in my skate. Like, it pretty well broke. Like, it didn't break any bones, but it wrecked my foot, so I was done. And then in the summer, I cut my leg with a chainsaw. So then at this point, camp rolls around, arm prior goes, you're really too much of a hazard. You can't use a roster spot on you.
So I actually found out I had been traded from Arm Prior to Athens. I reached out to Bob Seed and I said, look, like, this isn't gonna work for me going to school full time. I'm not gonna be able to make the drive out to Athens. And it was maybe 2 days before the showcase started, and I went out to have a beer with the captain of Arm Prior. Mark Craig had been released from Arm Prior, so he was looking for somewhere to go. He came and joined us.
And Mike ends up calling Bobby Seed, saying that I'm looking for, like, he knows defenseman looking for a spot to sign.
I didn't know a lot about Mark, but at the same time I'd heard some good things about him as well. So I thought, well, you know, there's an opportunity for him to come here.
Like, Mike's pretty well the whole reason I actually landed in Athens.
I didn't want to miss the opening showcase, and I thought, you know what, like, I'll go play for them until they can find me somewhere else to play. The deal we made was I'll play for a month, and after that month, like, you can use that time to find me somewhere else to go.
We weren't, I guess between myself and the coaching staff, really sure where Mike was going to fit in. Sometimes when you have these decisions that you make, sometimes you make regrets because you let people go, and it's like they may turn into something that it's like, oh man, why didn't I see that?
Went out the first weekend, had a blast. Next weekend had a blast, and kind of just forgot about the deal that I'd made with Bob.
Mike was very skilled player that we found out to be.
And then literally a month to the day, we're playing a game again in Lacroix, and he comes into the room beforehand and he has to see me up at the top of the stands. I'm thinking, oh crap. So we went up to the top and I said, Bob, before you say anything, like, I want to play the rest of my career in Athens. And he kind of laughed, shook my hand and said, I figured it'd end up being that way.
In early December, the Arrows would bring on head coach Roger Colley and assistant coach Nick Gregoire.
Roger was just a very well-respected coach in the league. and he got the most out of his players.
You know, Nick had a real passion for hockey as well.
In the last 20 games of the 2011-2012 regular season, the Arrows would finish with a 16-4 record, placing second in the Rideau division.
That was my rookie year, and I just remember thinking, like, I'm so lucky to be on this team. You know, I just think of the talent we had that year, especially with our overagers. Stephen Parker, Ethan Robert, Nate Livingston, Jacob Clark.
Still to this day, probably the best hockey team that I've played on.
You take it day by day and game by game, but at the back of our minds, we were thinking, like, we could probably go all the way here.
The team would carry their winning success into the playoffs with the first round sweep of the Gananoque Islanders. With a couple of overtime wins, the Arrows would knock off their rivals, the Westport Rideaus, to claim their third consecutive Gill Cup championship. A conference final date with the St. Lawrence Division champions, the Casselman Vikings, had been set. The Vikings jumped out with a 2-0 series lead, winning both games in overtime. However, the Arrows would respond with 2 consecutive wins of their own, including a Game 3 overtime winner by overager defenseman Ethan Robert. A split in Games 5 and 6 led to a winner-take-all, Game 7.
We knew, and I know they knew, that whoever was going to win this was going to win the whole championship.
I remember, like, we worked so hard to get there, and we had such a great team, and it was just little mistakes.
You win Game 6, and then force Game 7, go into a hostile rink, which was the best, like, most fun rink to play in, other than our home rink, and score the first goal, and then they scored 4 or 5 straight.
Going to Game 7 and losing like we did, afterwards, it felt like not just losing the conference finals, but losing the entire championship.
We lost 3 of those games in overtime, and, you know, a bounce or 2 our way, you know, and that series is ours, and we're the ones moving on.
You walk in the room and you know it's obviously a tough time.
Being there over the 4 years that I was there, one of the toughest things for me was to see the kids come and see the kids go.
You know it's a heartbreaking time when the players have to take that jersey off for the last time.
It was painful knowing that some of those kids weren't going to get another chance.
None of us wanted to take the gear off at all. And I've seen it through the years, those overagers after their final game, and they're sitting there in their gear and they don't want to take it. But until you go through it, I don't think you really understand what that feeling is like. And, you know, sitting there, I think you go through a lot of your memories right from the day you started, the mini stick tournaments with the guys at the hotel, all of the activities, all of that fun, those relationships you build. And you just reflect on that, and then you get to the point where you're like, this is it, and I don't want it to end, but I've got no choice.
After that Game 7, that's when I'm kind of thinking, okay, what do I got to do for us to make the next step? Because I'm not going through this again either.
Windsor native Dan Lacroix began his career with the Arrows in 2007. In 4 of the 5 years with the team, he was on the losing side of the conference finals.
We were right there, we were knocking on the door, but it just like never worked out, right? Like we just didn't have those one or two key pieces to push us over the hump.
A 1991 birth year, he had one last shot to reverse the script. With 10 returning players from the previous season, Bob and Norm went to work on filling the remaining available positions.
My wife may not agree, but you couldn't wait till the next year to start, because whatever momentum you had before and wherever you ended on, you're just ready to go again.
You know, Bobby and I talked over the summer and we realized we needed a couple of things. We needed to get a little bit stronger. You know, we needed to be a little bit tougher, and we needed really good goaltending.
The Arrows signed 3 16-year-olds, Curtis Cohane, Michael McKenney, and Darius Gibson. To complement a defense core led by Mark Craig and David Empey, the Arrows added Kempville native and 17-year-old Liam Whittlefield.
He was a great skater. He just knew when to anticipate and when to go.
For the upcoming season, Pat Cameron would wear the C, while Mike Byrne and Dan Lacroix were assigned the A. Of all the letters of leadership assigned for that season, only one would be donned by a non-overager, David Empey.
Empey was, a very character player for us. I mean, he brought a lot of leadership, quiet leadership, but I think he could be vocal as well when he needed to be. He was intimidating out there because he liked to chirp to many of the players to kind of keep the opposition honest. But I mean, Dave at the same time, he kind of wore his game on his sleeve.
Led by an offensive force of the 3 overagers, the Arrows would come flying out of the gate with a 5-1 record to start the season. In October, the Arrows received 2 assets from the Kempville 73's Junior A team.
Yeah, so we started at prep school together, Lake Forest Academy, a small town just north of Chicago, Illinois. And then the 2 of us came to Kempville from there. Spent a couple months there, and it's actually in practice, Barry blindsided me by accident during the drill, gave me a concussion, and yeah, a couple weeks later I was in Athens. He's like 6'3", probably 190, 200 pounds, farm boy strong, straight out of Indiana. From day one, Brian and I coming in, you were part of the team. Whether you were 16-year-old Curtis Cohane or 21-year-old Pat Cameron, everyone was on the team, everyone pulled their weight, and it made you feel real welcome right away coming in there.
There are only a handful of acceptable excuses as to why a junior coach cannot attend his own team's hockey game. A Bruce Springsteen concert is one of them. With Roger rocking out with the boss, the Arrows took care of their own versus the Morrisburg Lions. While Brian Barry was making an impressive Arrows debut with a 3-point night, Mike Byrne was attending to matters elsewhere.
So the only game that I missed in my entire junior B career was an exam at U Ottawa that I couldn't get out of.
We had just finished writing a midterm actually, and we're at the 1848 bar on campus having a couple of beers.
I got a text message from Empey after the game, said, we acquired a new goalie, Miskin or something. I'm like, I don't know who that is. It mixed in from Stittsville. And I went back, I'm like, Mixic? Yeah, that's the guy. And I'm sitting right beside him. And I don't know how to tell this to you, but you just got traded to Athens.
I'd tried out for the U Ottawa team, got right down to the end of that, was hoping then that, or expecting that I would just go back to Stittsville after that. I almost made a, university team, and then I got told, oh no, we don't have a spot for you. So sat on the sidelines for a month, hoping, waiting for a trade.
It was pretty cool to be sitting there and to be able to break the news to him even before Bob Seed was able to.
Yeah, it was kind of a bit of a funny situation in how it played out, and the fact that I was sitting right there and Burns getting all these questions like, I think you're getting traded to our team.
It was for a good chunk of my overage year. I'd moved back to defense, which I had actually never played before. And Mick's first game, we were 4 defense. And I think I might have been on the ice for every single goal again. So kind of make him wonder, like, what did you get yourself into?
It was definitely one of the more welcoming teams I've played on. It was a great group of guys that were all really friendly, all very inclusive. Like, the moment I stepped in, I felt like I belonged as part of that team.
Eric Miksic would join Athens native Dallas Slack to create a strong tandem in the net for the Arrows. It would only be a few weeks later that the Arrows roster would be shaken up again, this time for the worse. A disagreement between Roger and Brian Barry about playing positions led to Barry leaving for another team in another league in Alaska.
If a player maybe even goes to Junior A or goes to a different league, I think sometimes you got to let them follow their dream too. I guess I never wanted to see a player leave on bad terms.
Despite the loss of Barry, the Arrows would put on their work boots and win 6 out of 8 games in November. Following a 5-1 win in Akwesasne on December 1st, the Arrows would join in on the annual Athens Santa Claus Parade.
We do the Christmas parade where we buy candy and give them all out.
Emerson would tell you that every Santa Claus parade he had, he was the #1 Arrow. So he was #1 in the hearts of people.
They just got a chance, you know, like Mike Byrne, like Miksic, like these guys came out of nowhere. Other teams were like giving them to us.
Coming off the ice of practice one day around December, and Bob Seed approached me and asked, "What do you think of Drew Powell?" And I was kind of taken aback. Like, I was like, "Well, how did you know that we played minor hockey together?"
JP and I had played together for about 6 years during minor hockey, playing on some great teams and having some great times together. So I had started the season with the Ottawa West Golden Knights, and I wasn't getting too much playing time there. Just woke up one morning and got a call from the coach in Shawville, and he asked me if I wanted to come play there, and I had no idea what was going on. So later I found out that day that I had actually been cut the night before and hadn't really been told.
In those kind of markets, they really care about, oh, did you play AAA, or where have you played before, what have you done before? And you know, those guys didn't have like stellar resumes coming to us. Like, obviously they're good players, but like coming to Athens, like they were given an opportunity.
I wasn't sure if I was gonna quit hockey, and then I ended up getting a call from Bob Seed, who asked me if I wanted to come play for Athens, and I knew JP was on that team.
It was just typical Bob Seed fashion, you know, he dug around to find good players.
I mean, I may not see games as much obviously in the Ottawa area during the season because we're focusing on our own team. But I would ask and say, hey, what do you think about this kid? You know, you could look at points, but I guess for me, it's beyond points. I look at, you know, what the character of the kid's like. How is he going to fit in the room?
Basically said that, like, you're going to want this guy. He's a great person. You know, he's got a great shot. He's kind of like sneakily physical, and he works hard. Like, he's a guy you're going to want. They brought him out to practice, and they signed him pretty much right there and then.
Definitely excited to make the decision to go play for the Athens Arrows.
When Drew came, it just gave us more depth. I mean, I think it really filled our forward lineup.
You know, it was really cool to reunite with Drew.
Pretty awesome to get to play junior together.
Just prior to the Christmas break, one play set off a series of injuries for the Arrows.
I just crossed the red line, went to dump it in, and And I don't remember anything until I came to the end of the game. All the boys were walking into the change room, and then Mark Craig came in and gave me the Player of the Game hat. That was the only time I ever won the Player of the Game award, was after I got knocked out. My mother would come to about a couple games a year. I think that was the only game she came to that year, and sure enough, that was the one I got. The incident took place. Yeah, I don't remember any of it.
In the span of only 2 weeks, the injured list included Liam Whittlefield, Darius Gibson, Pat Cameron, and JP Augustine.
What a collision. You could feel that run from here.
So I consider myself lucky in the fact that I didn't have to deal with a lot of injuries throughout my hockey career, but that hit I took against Alexandria was by far the biggest hit I've ever taken. I got concussed and tore my AC joint in that one play, so wasn't fun for sure.
With the trade deadline approaching, management made some moves. They began by acquiring 2 new pieces to solidify the back end.
We went out and we got some really good players. We got people like Cameron Stewart, maybe not a very big famous name in there, but a tough guy.
I played for Stittsville. I got a call from Bob Seed, and he was just like, "Hey Cam, like I noticed your rights got released. Any opportunity, any chance you'd be interested coming to Athens?" I was like, "Hey, why not? Let's give it a go." Like, I was the stay-at-home, rough and tough D. You know, I'm not gonna take shit from nobody, and you know, I'm gonna protect my team no matter what.
I was reffing the Bell Capital Cup tournament and got a voicemail, and it was actually, you know, kind of telling me, breaking the news that I'd been traded from Perth over to Athens, and it wasn't even from my own GM. It was Bob Seed who gave me the call.
Alex was kind of a hard-nosed, tough defenseman, and a very skilled defenseman too.
I was kind of that guy that you could put with 1 or 2 defensemen and let them go do their thing.
They would protect our players, and you know that's an element that every team needs.
With 1 remaining overage card still available, management turned to Mike Byrne for assistance.
Yeah, I mean, we'd known each other since we were 6, obviously. Both grew up playing on the same ball team every summer and played some of our minor hockey together.
Greg Harding was 13th forward.
Everybody has to find a way to contribute.
Well, Greg was just a character guy, right? He was a character player, good in the dressing room.
Yeah, like they've always said about you, good room guy, eh?
Room guy.
Team guy. Team guy.
Being a room guy. Well, obviously I wasn't one of the skilled guys, and I'm not going to go out there and put up a bunch of points for any team. You know, pump the guys up every time you get out there on the ice. You know, the guys, every time I get in there, put a smile on somebody's face, and you know, take the nerves out of some of the rookies.
There's not many guys out there like Joe. Like, there's just not. If he was in the stands, he didn't care. But in the room, that guy, like, he was phenomenal. And it was those are the guys you want to see in the room. I'll fight with those guys any day of the week.
Knowing what he could bring to our teams in terms of being a role player and then being a positive guy in the dressing room, you know, it was a plus to bring him on.
A pleasant surprise in the form of Brian Barry's return from Alaska would finalize the Arrows roster. The injured players would begin to return, and the Arrows looked promising heading into the playoffs. However, there was still one more piece of business to take care of. With 2 games remaining, the Arrows entered the last weekend of the regular season 3 points out of first place in the Rideau Division. They accomplished their goal with 2 wild victories against Westport, though it was far from a smooth finish.
We were at the end of a long shift and we were getting hammered. We were getting hammered in our own end, could not get the puck out. So it was one of those, the puck finally bounced over to my corner and I had a chance to just get it out. And I'm just thinking, man, just get this damn thing down the ice. Get the puck on my stick, I do a 180 to just let it rip, and it sits up on my stick. So obviously I'm pointing, I want the puck to go that way, but of course it holds onto my stick a little bit longer and goes that way. And as soon as that puck came off my stick, it was like I know exactly where that's going. And I look, and Roger's, of course, looking down at his clipboard or something, and I'm just like, well, there goes any playoff time I ever hoped of playing.
All was forgiven quickly, and a first-round matchup with the Brockville Tikis was set.
I thought it was going to be rough.
I think we underestimated Brockville, and that Brockville team was, to their credit, you know what, a good hockey team. They worked hard. They were chippy.
Hated every second against playing against Brockville. It was awful. Their whole strategy was just like pests, right? Everybody on the team was a pest.
A 21-point difference in the regular season between the two teams was quickly forgotten, as the Tiki stormed out to a 3-0 lead early in Game 1.
It doesn't matter what place you get into the playoffs as long as you get in. All the numbers, stats go out the window.
Entering the third down 3-1, the Arrows found their groove with a 5-goal period, including a penalty shot goal by Dan Lacroix. Even though the Arrows came away with an expected win, they knew they had their work cut out for them.
Fourth year overtime loss, and that was a bad goal.
A shitty bounce off the glass, and all of a sudden the puck's right to the side of the net. And you know, Miksic 9 times out of 10 is getting there and stopping that puck, but you know, it just happened to be the rough bounce of the day.
I was off for whatever reason. I wasn't playing my best those first 2 games.
Following the Tikis' overtime win in Game 2, the Arrows would surrender Game 3 at home and fall 2-1 in the series. The Tikis' hard-nosed style of play was working on the Arrows.
They definitely targeted a couple of our top guys.
I had a full-time job. Like, not everybody in the league has a full-time job, obviously, so they're just like, you know, going to school or whatever, but like, when they're saying this stuff to me and they're telling me that they're gonna jump me or fight me or, you know, break my wrist, man, it's like, I gotta go to work tomorrow. I obviously knew they were doing that to try to goat me into like fighting or something to get me out of the game. And in my head, I'm like, why would I fight you? If I were to like get goaded into that, I'm hurting my team.
It's obviously somebody that, you know, the opposition tried to shut down, but, you know, he's the type of player you're really not going to shut down. They're still going to get their points.
Heading into Game 4, it was still undecided which goalie would earn the starting position.
So then we're down 2-1 against a team that we expected to not have really any problems with. You know, I get to come back in.
From the Brockville Memorial Center, Game 4 in the best of 7 Rideau Division semifinal this evening. It's the Athens Arrows and the Brockville Tikis. Miksic makes a start this evening.
And that was probably one of our better games in the entire series.
And the shot right on. Miksic makes the save. Behind the net. Pat Cameron, and they score! So just what the Athens Arrows needed, trailing this series 2-1 on the road. Well, the cross ice pass, a nice place to Hiley. Hiley shot to goal! It gets through Nathan Peters, but it may have hit something. It goes 5-hole, and the Arrows get a huge goal to extend their lead to 2-0. Nice defensive play by the Arrows, David Empey. Well, they scramble on the boards. They're walking in, winding up, shooting, rebound to the point to Craig. Cross ice, shot, deflects, rolls right from the net. Oh, they score! And in over the line, here's Harper. And the save by Miksic, who has been solid here in Game 4.
In the third period, with the Arrows holding on to a commanding lead, the Tikis ran into penalty trouble.
17 seconds to go in the 5-on-3. Whitfield chases in the back door, shot, he scores! The Arrows extend their lead to 4-0. It's going to be Whitfield. Just had a solid game on the back end this evening for the Arrows.
A strong team performance and a 4-0 shutout victory put the team back in the driver's seat.
That was a real bounce back for us.
But the feeling would be short-lived. A brutally poor performance by the Arrows in Game 5 put them on the brink of elimination.
The Game 5 had to be the low point of the season. I mean, we had nothing.
We played bad hockey.
You know, we just played terribly, and in the dressing room afterwards, you know, it was pretty heated, tensions were high.
I remember getting, I don't know if I would call it mad or emotional or a mix of the two in the room, talking to the guys after. And it's after the coaches had left, and I said, guys, like, this is embarrassing and it hurts. And that the 3 years that I'd played in junior before, like, you wanted to run through a wall to give the overagers on your team the best chance they had to win it in their last year.
So I think it took a real gut check from everyone to really step up and perform in Game 6.
If there was ever an example of how much the community cared for the Arrows, it occurred prior to Game 6.
I know personally I got out to a pretty bad start. I wasn't really into it the first few games, and we ended up going down 3-2. It was tough. It was a little bit deflating, but I actually remember Joan coming into the room before the game in Brockville, and she just tore into me. And kind of, it was the wake-up call I needed.
Executive member and team secretary Joan Racine was as passionate about winning as the players.
The team needs many volunteers, and Joan was definitely a great one for us. Joan was very energetic, vocal.
She just said, you know, like, looks like you're not playing like the Shane Hiley that we've seen all year out there. You're not playing with intensity, you're not scoring, and just really just pick it up.
Sparked by Joan's pregame speech, Hiley would record a hat trick. Miksic would take care of business between the pipes, and Jason Eyre would take care of business with his fists.
I said to myself, I'm just going to fight, and I can remember hopping over the boards and my shin pad caught the boards. I ended up eating it, going over the boards, fell onto the ice, and everybody had a good laugh, but went straight down, and the first guy that turned around, we dropped our gloves, and I didn't fare too well in it. You know, wasn't playing too many minutes, so that was kind of one of my ways I got to you know, make an impact. It was pretty cool to see the boys amped up.
Like after the game, everybody's like mood sort of changed, where it was like, yeah, it's going to start rolling here.
During the series, Mark Craig began to evolve his game.
I honestly, to this day, I don't know what changed. I still threw some big hits and thoroughly enjoyed it, but I don't know, maybe I guess I just wanted to put the puck in the net more.
Yeah, he brought a lot. Like, he was intense.
Very intimidating guy out there on the ice. He could hit, he could fight, he could score. I didn't like standing in front of the net when he was taking booming slap shots.
Smart hockey player out there. He played with a lot of emotion as well.
Like, all he wanted to do was win.
The one thing that really stood out with Mark was how much he cared. Like, he gave 110% every shift. And, you know, if there were guys in the team that he felt weren't trying as hard as they should be, he'd let them know. Honestly, that's a sign of a good teammate, you know, one that is not afraid to give you a bit of a kick in the ass if you need it. And you need those sorts of teammates to help you win. And a lot of guys will say that they were lucky to play with him and not against him.
Definitely an elite junior B defenseman, like the complete package.
A series which extended longer than anyone anticipated came down to one game.
Welcome to Game 7 between the Athens Arrows and the Brockville Tikis here at Center 76 in Athens. Historical evening in the Junior B circuit tonight.
The Arrows would receive a scare in the first period when a Tiki's goal was disallowed.
Oh, look at this pass right on, scores! No goal. No goal, and we're going to have an interference call. The penalty was called before the puck went in the net. Arrows win the right off the crossbar.
Both teams traded chances, and it would take a full period before a lead was taken.
Comes back to defend. Lacroix coming up over center in the Brockville zone, takes a shot right on, scores! Lacroix took a shot, Peters got a piece of it, the rebound came out.
Only a few minutes later, Emerson Moulton would capitalize on a Drew Powell pass and send center 76 into a frenzy.
Here's number 21, drop pass to Emerson Moulton. Local kid Moulton fires, makes it 2-0.
It was just kind of good timing. Got 2-on-1, had the defenseman going for him and just dropped out.
Got the best seat in the house, got to sit on the bench and get in for free.
Here comes Patrick Rock. Rock with a shot off the glove and off the crossbar. Game of centimeters here, folks. Mike Craig with a shot. Shot right in there, scored! Standing there was Michael McKenney.
Midway through the second period, and after 6 hard-fought games, tensions reached a predictable boiling point.
It was just that, like, typical stuff, you know. I started getting on my game, and they were trying to get me off in any way they could.
Right out in front, nobody there. Shot right on! And there's going to be a penalty to Brockville. This game is going to get ugly.
Barry kind of got up against the boards there. There was a little bit of a scrum happening, and you know, I saw a player coming in out of nowhere, trying to kind of blindside him from what I saw, and you know, I gave him a little shove. He kind of got up in my face, and you know, things happen.
Oh, there's a cross check right to the face. That number 23 just got thrown out of the game.
An empty netter by rookie Michael McKenney would seal a 4-0 victory for the Arrows.
And picks up the loose puck and scores into the empty net. It's going to be 4-0 final for the Athens Arrows. What really wasn't expected was the Brockville Tiki's taking the powerful Athens Arrows to Game 7. And it was without the goaltending of Miksic in next tonight, and a little bit of luck going Brockville's way, they might be headed on.
But if you get into the playoffs, anything can happen, and Brockville almost made it happen. We almost shit the bed.
I don't know if anybody really had any confidence or anybody knew that we could just turn it on like we did at that point. So I'm really happy we did, but yeah, we certainly got a scare in the first round from that Brockville team.
Honestly, there was a point where we went down 3-2, and I was like 100% like, this is it. We're gonna lose to Brockville, and that's the last game I'll ever play, right?
I think we needed our backs up against the wall really to kind of understand, like, this is realistic. At the start of the series, we never thought we would lose.
That one probably would have hurt more if we lost to Brockville in the first round and losing to Castleman in Game 7 in the year before.
Somehow, you know, the boys pulled up their socks, and you know, our skill let us beat them. You know, Miksic stood on his head. The fact that we were down in that first series is something that really helped us be stronger through the rest of the playoffs after that, because we kind of already had to overcome that adversity early on.
You know, once you kind of get into a playoff run, you know, you go up street for some groceries, or you go get gas. I mean, the Arrows during the playoff run, they're the talk of the town.
Despite finishing in first place in the division, the Arrows lost 6 out of 8 games to the Gananoque Islanders during the regular season.
Like, we did not play well against them at all during the season. They had our number.
As the Arrows learned in their series with the Tikis, the regular season stats don't matter come playoff time.
I don't ever remember feeling like oh, we're like screwed here, you know?
Neil McHugh proud to bring it game one in this best of 7 Rideau Division final. And the Islanders come up. Here's Tyler Murray. He's got John Harris alone right in front of the net. There's Harris. A shot. Oh, what a save by Miksic. Good interceptor. This shot is scored. A costly turnover by the Islanders turns into the opening goal of the hockey game. It's 1-0 Arrows. Along with Keller, and another shot is scored. And the Arrows drew foul. Now here's Levesque with an opportunity. Here's Whitfield weaving his way at the Islander blue line. Here's Lacroix, and he's got him goal! Lacroix, 5-hole on Kazuba. The Arrows regain their 1-goal lead. They lead it 2-1. Just the wrong guy to give the puck to in a prime scoring position and making no mistake. Daniel Lacroix. The speedy Smith short-handed. Here comes Smith inside the blue line. He's shot right on. And Miksic makes the save. He is knocked down by Mark Craig. Barry over to Powell. Now walking right in is Cameron in his shot. Broken up by Byrne with Barry. Here's Byrne working his way in. A shot right on Kazoo. Make the save. The rebound. Whitfield to McKinney. Here's McKinney inside the line, winding up. Shot. Score! It's a power play goal. They lead it 3-1. Just pure heat. Back to McLean. The shot deflects. Kazuba makes a save, and it rolls wide. Winding, shooting. A no-look pass goes right to Daniel Lacroix, and the save. The rebound lays right there. The shot goes wide. Another one. They score!
The Arrows would start the series off with a 4-1 win, led by another 2-goal performance by McKinney. It was clear that the line of McKinney, Hiley, and Lacroix was starting to gel.
With Michael, I guess that probably boiled down to 2 things: opportunity and confidence.
He was involved. Like, he was chirping, he was all over the place.
Like, you know, he could stick handle through guys. He was gritty. You know, it was an easy line to play on, honestly.
He had, 2 great line mates, and Dan Lacroix and Shane Hiley. Every winning season we had, Danny Lacroix played a huge part.
Those guys were just so easy to play with. I just had to go stand in the slot, and they got me the puck.
Hiley, like, high glove every time.
Every time.
I don't know how it worked, but it always worked. As soon as me, Hiley, and Mike were on the same line, it just clicked.
The Arrows would take a 2-0 series lead, led by a fight from Brian Barry and a hat-trick performance by none other than McKinney. All the while, Miksic allowed just 2 goals on 93 shots in games 1 and 2.
And I've never seen anything like it, a goaltender just flip a switch.
And getting the glove up there was Miksic.
He was making 50 saves a game. Like, he was not getting much help, and I'm one of the guys that was supposed to help him.
Winding up his shot, and Miksic, no problem.
I don't think what a lot of people realize, we got in a lot of penalty trouble that series, and like, we were almost not playing at even strength, but Miksic absolutely stood on his head.
Right on the rebound, lays right there, and a shot again, another one, and Miksic all over the place, and what a job by Eric Miksic.
I just have a lot of pressure that I put on myself all the time to, really step up and perform. Like, it bothers me when I have a bad game. It was just, like getting in that rhythm, getting that confidence, getting that comfortability. Like, you get a couple good games going, and it's easy to get on a roll sometimes, and you just get in that right mental mindset.
Back to the point. And here's a break for Chris Smith. Smith going right in on goal. Smith goes in and shoots, and oh, what a save as he staggered that pad. Miksic.
To have a good playoff run at any level, your best player needs to be your goalie. He was that and more.
After losing Game 3, the Arrows would bounce back with a tight 3-2 win in Game 4. Damien Levesque, Drew Powell, and Emerson Moulton formed a tremendous third line with a mix of grit and skill.
I just felt we were a really well-balanced line, just having Damien in the middle, being such a good centerman, amazing playmaker.
It was a really good line, like Drew Powell could score.
Yeah, I had so much fun with Emerson on that line because he's the complete opposite player of me. Like, he would go and throw the puck in the corner and literally throw his body into whoever got it first, and then I'd come in, pick up the garbage and make a play, and we'd get a goal.
A chance for a fourth consecutive Gill Cup lay in front of the Arrows, but Gananoque had no intention of going away easy.
From center 76 in Athens, it is Game 5. As the Athens Arrows lead the Gananoque Islanders 3-1, so it's do or die tonight for the Islanders. Here's John Harris, shot from the shot angle, he scores!
A wake-up call was all the Arrows needed.
On the right side, here's Dylan Black, and what a nice move by Craig. Here's Moon, that's brother, that's the lucky score! Just like that, the Arrows have tied things up.
Late in the first period, Dan Lacroix would play his most efficient shift of his career.
Arrows are going to have a minute and 2 to finish the first. Carry forward 58 seconds, and there's Lacroix! Daniel Lacroix!
As Gananoque continued to press for the tying goal, the Arrows are in much need of an insurance marker.
Moore kept it in temporarily, and here comes Augustine. Barreling ahead for the Arrows inside the blue line. Winding up, the shot, he scores!
I guess it's kind of funny in hindsight, but prior to my injury in that game against Alexandria, I went in a bit of a scoring slump. And I think I went about a couple weeks without scoring. And then I got the injury and missed some time. And even when I came back, just right before the playoffs, I wasn't 100%, and the coaches knew that, and I wasn't getting a lot of ice time. So by the time I scored that goal, it had been 3 months since I put the puck in the back of the net.
Here's Emerson Moulton, backhands it up for Drew Powell. Powell inside the Islanders zone, crossing into the middle, shot, scores! Well, what a shot by Drew Powell. Once again, a seeing-eyed shot. It's now 4-1 Arrows. They're starting to walk away.
A 4-1 deficit would not be enough for Gananoque to give up.
Here's Taylor Kyle right up front of that low. Inside the line. Here's Smith, the shot right on, and Miksic trying to take things into his own hands. We'll get a less time. Here's Chris Smith. Chris Smith going right in on Miksic, makes a move, and oh! A pad save. Miksic, we've seen it before in the series. Kyle's shot. There's a save. Chris Smith just couldn't control the rebound. It's right there. They score! Anything can happen.
With Gananoque's goalie pulled, Moulton would back up the words told to him by equipment manager Greg Tackerberry prior to the game.
He said, "You're going to play well tonight, kid."
The net is empty as Lawson vacates.
I think it was me and Powell, actually. We're going for the puck together, and then it's just both of us kind of stopped, and I just went for it.
This could be it. Here's Moulton, and he does it. Scores!
Tack was he had a great sense of humor. He usually kept things very light, but he had a lot of fun. He loved his poutine in Castleman. But he was a very great guy to have around.
Down to a half minute to go. And away comes Emerson Moulton. And his second successive empty net goal.
Oh, it's like half his goals are empty netters.
And that will do it. There's the celebration.
I don't think any of us were coming into that series expecting that we would, be moving on after 5 games.
Mixic was in a completely different league that series.
It was definitely a collective effort of, I think like a lot of people started to step up in that series.
The Arrows were set for a conference final rematch with the Castleman Vikings.
You really don't know what to expect, but going into that locker room, it was a tight bond, and it showed in how we played throughout the season and how we were able to make a push in the playoffs.
There's a shot right on and stretching out. A nice glove save by Dallas Slack.
Dallas and Eric definitely had almost comparable stats probably for the year. When Roger kind of put Eric in there and you kind of get a hot goalie and you run with it, Dallas was a super teammate in that regards. Supporting Eric, supporting the team, that's a huge plus.
At that point we were rolling.
As far as I see with Castleman, they were a powerhouse.
I knew their scoring potential. I knew they had some guys that were very dangerous.
I would say Castleman was definitely better on paper than us.
But we knew what we had in our dressing room. We knew what we had in terms of our game plan.
Redemption year. That's how I went into it with. It's like I wasn't losing to those guys twice.
Like when you went to play them, you knew you had to be 100% ready to go.
We didn't get swept the year before. Like if you get swept, you're going into that series with a fair bit of doubt.
We knew we were right in there. We knew that we're going to surprise somebody here.
I feel like Castleman had like a same town mentality. You go in there and like the people in Castleman love that team.
The Vikings would storm out of the gate off a first period natural hat trick and take game 1 by a score of 5-3.
I don't know, that loss didn't really faze me too much. I don't think it fazed anybody really too much. It was just something about it. Guys just came into the room and whatever, lost the first one last year too. Just kind of carry on.
Despite losing, the Arrows showed their tight bond amongst each other. When one of the Vikings player hounded Drew Powell with cross-checks and slashes, Cameron Stewart had decided he would send a message.
I just jumped right off the bench. I just fucking gave him a little pass like, man, you're going me, and then backed up, dropped the gloves, and then the guy turned around and skated away. It just hit me where I was like, man, I didn't even care if anybody even in this building. I didn't even care if I got knocked out. I was just doing it for the playoff run, the boys.
The Arrows knew a 2-0 series deficit against Castleman could be deadly, and they were on the verge of it becoming a reality. Each time the Arrows scored, it seemed that the Vikings would return the favor.
Yeah, scored on a bit of a tip. It was nice to finally score and kind of get out of a bit of a slump.
After trading goals all game, the Arrows found themselves down a goal with just 2 minutes left.
started that first overtime, and they turned a puck over in our zone that I tried to chip out of our zone. I ended up icing the puck. And I remember in my head thinking, like, I had plenty of time. It was a brutal play. I don't know what I was thinking. And thinking to myself, like, what did I just do? Like, are they gonna win the draw here? And am I gonna be the one to cost us the game? And we ended up winning the draw, going back down the other way. I got a shot on net. Goalie saw it pretty clean. And the first thing that I thought in my head was, okay, offensive zone draw. Like, they're gonna throw out Lacroix' line. For whatever reason, Raj kept us out, and I guess a puck was being dumped into the corner, and it's all, I guess, kinda, I remember it like it was yesterday. Puck rimmed around the boards to Patty Cameron, and Patty Cameron threw a behind-the-back pass out, somehow found me without looking in the slot, and just let go as quick as I could and found the top corner.
And then the big celebration, pump the jersey down on one knee, jump into the glass.
How many people will forget, those golden locks coming out of that helmet, in the playoffs? Because, when you score some big goals and you kind of tug that front of the jersey, that just makes you a proud player.
To score in double overtime in front of the home barn, a packed barn, and walking out into the parking lot, having people I didn't even know come up and give me a hug afterwards. It was a super cool moment for sure. I'd be lying if I said I didn't go back and watch that time and time again.
A crucial Game 3 was now up for grabs, and the teams picked up right where they left off.
The most exciting hockey game that I was ever part of was the Game 3 down in Castleman that year.
That is the most back and forth game I think I've ever played in.
The Arrows would kick things off with a nice shot by Dan Lacroix. After the Vikings scored 2 goals of their own, the Arrows would respond with a tip-in by Shane Hiley and a late goal in the second period by Drew Powell.
So playing in Castleman was a pretty special experience. Really nice junior B barn, and packed house every night we played there in the playoffs. So scoring big goals in those moments, especially Game 3, was a big momentum shifter when we got one. I can't take too much credit because Barry did most of the work, but I was just there to hop on an opportunity.
Shane Hiley would add a backhand goal to increase the Arrows' lead by 2. The lead was short-lived as the Vikings would tie up the game at the midway point of the third period. Only 2 minutes later, the Arrows would grab a 5-4 lead off a goal by McKinney. Of course, the Vikings had an answer for it and tied the game at 5 with 3.5 minutes to play. With the game destined to go to overtime once again, Shane Hiley would complete his hat trick on a fortuitous breakaway with just under 3 minutes to go. But that wouldn't be enough, as the Vikings would tie the game with just 3 seconds left on the clock.
If you want to get down in the dumps and you want to get deflated, that's the kind of stuff that'll just, but you don't have time.
I'm having to bounce back mentally at that point because again, I'm just not happy about how that panned out, the fact that we're even going to overtime at this point. So,
going to overtime that game, I think we were pretty mentally and physically drained. Obviously being 3 seconds away from polishing the game off, and now we got to go right back at it. It was getting late in the overtime, and Mike Byrne was carrying the puck up the right side of the boards.
I remember trying to drop one back to JP.
Didn't get much in the shot.
The puck got knocked down and kind of went towards the net, and I just remember swinging at it.
As he was doing that, I was kind of looping up the ice just in case we had to go back check. But as I was doing that, the puck somehow wound up right around me in the slot. And I remember I just turned around and time just kind of slowed down. I just remember I hit the puck and it was like watching the puck in slow motion. I thought, okay, well, I connected on it pretty well. Now it's getting some pretty good height. I think this might actually go in. And then once I saw the puck go in, it was just...
If he learned a thing from me in junior, it must have been how to celebrate, because he went flying through center ice on his knees.
I don't think any of us were expecting that goal necessarily in that moment. It was a very spontaneous goal. And I don't think I've seen someone celly so hard from an overtime goal.
I haven't scored an overtime goal to date, so I think I made the most of that celebration.
To do it all in front of a packed Castleman barn was just unreal.
Goal's huge. They were a team, if we let our foot off the gas, that you're done. If you slow down, take a breath, you're done.
As great as a moment as that was, I remember thinking on the ride back home that it's going to be that much more special if we can win this series.
Welcome to Center 76, Game 4 of the Rideau St. Lawrence Championship Series. Set to drop the puck.
Coming off his overtime winner, J.P. Augustine got the Arrows on the board first.
Augustine with the puck, he scores! He stole it, come out in front, and it's 1-0 Athens Arrows.
30 seconds after taking the lead, Arrows captain Pat Cameron would take an interference penalty.
Another shot right on, tipped in front by number 22, and we have a tie game on a power play goal.
Only 25 seconds after the Vikings tied the game at 1, Cameron would have an opportunity on the power play to provide some payback.
So Patty wins the face-off. I get it, kind of walked the line, and it was just a slap pass.
Craig with a shot down to Cameron. Cameron, little tip in front. Beautiful pass by Craig from the point. Knew exactly where Pat Cameron was going to be, and it is 2-1. 5 seconds into their first power play of the game.
That's one that's going to stay with me for a long, long time.
The second period provided much of the same back and forth hockey.
Nice save by Nixick. Back to the point again, shot right on, shot, scores! McKenny dumps it off into the corner, Lacroix picks it up, throws it back into the Castleman corner, picked up there to the defenseman. He fires it, goes off the stanchion. Off the stanchion, it came right out in front of the net. I couldn't see it, but whoever was standing in front of the net picked it up and just did a little flip pass or flip shot over Michaud's left pad, and it's another power play goal for the Arrows. Back into the Castleman end. Here's a pass up. 3-on-1. Pass over, shot. No! Scores! A give and go!
A late goal by Drew Powell with under a minute to go in the second would give the Arrows a 4-3 lead heading into the third.
Blue line, the Arrows come out with it. Shot right on, scores! That's Drew Powell stole the puck at the blue line, stepped around the defenseman, and had Michaud moving the wrong way, went back to his left, and it's 4-3 with 53 seconds left in the second period. Set to go, dropping the puck. Third period underway.
Knowing that a 1-goal lead would not be enough, the Arrows needed to find some insurance.
McKinney, cross ice to Lacroix. Lacroix shoots, scores! Low! Left side, and the Arrows have grabbed a 5-3 lead with 10 minutes left here in the third period. Huge goal!
Probably fanned on the shot, to be honest, but who goes like low glove?
Steals the puck right in front. Scores! Scores!
The Vikings would manage one more goal on the Arrows, but could not put anything more past Miksic.
Right on, and this game is over, and the Athens Arrows have defeated the Castleman Vikings to take a stranglehold on the series, 3-1.
It was a good feeling. You go up 3-1, win your own rink, but you know, like that last one's the hardest one to get. If you're coming home up 3-1, you're pretty happy about it. But going into Castleman, like that's just a hostile rink.
Like Game 7 of the year prior, the Arrows would take an early 1-0 lead. Mike Byrne would score a shorthanded goal less than a minute into the game.
Yeah, it all looked good, and then didn't look good.
The rest of the game played out in an eerily similar fashion to last year's decisive Game 7.
Those ones kind of hurt, but at least you're still up 3-2.
When you start broadcasting the games, ultimately, you want a really meaningful game.
We had to do it at that point. We didn't want to go back into their barn for 7 and have a repeat of the year before.
As the players prepared for Game 6, Drew Powell had to face the unfortunate realities of priorities.
I was working at the time and going to school full time, so balancing that and playing hockey was definitely tough. I was put in a situation where with my exam schedule and the stuff I had going on, I had to make the really tough decision to miss Game 6. That's just part of Junior B hockey. You kind of make sacrifices to play hockey, but you kind of have to keep life's priorities in your focus.
With number 21 out of the lineup, the Arrows would have to step up their game. But they had an electric atmosphere to feed off of.
That's probably the most full that I've ever seen Center 76.
You can feel the emotions before you even get to the rink.
So tonight, and we have the puck drive. Miksic. Now Hiley taking it to the boards from behind. By Cousineau, the shot.
A rusty start for the Arrows had them down 1-0 in the first period.
Arrows digging away, but coming up with his Cousineau shot from the sharp angle, and they score!
The Vikings pressed hard to add to their lead, but Miksic denied their chances.
And a big save by Miksic.
2-goal differential might have been lights out even though it was early, but Miksic made a couple of huge saves.
Entering the second period, the Arrows found their game and spent more time in the Viking zone.
Back in, here's Lacroix. Lacroix. Out in front of the net, walking right into a goal, and a save! Michaud. Here's Pat Cameron picking up the loose puck, dropping it back to the point. There's a shot. It's the Arrows have tied it.
Cameron made one heck of a back pass to the point to empty. And again, the bounces, hits iron and goes in, and you're all tied at 1.
The Vikings would continue to get chances, including a breakaway midway through the second.
Oh, here's the break. And the save. By Miksic.
With the Arrows circling the zone, Shane Hiley pounced on a loose puck.
puck pops out to me side of the net, but their guy had pushed Dan on top of the goalie, and I'm sure like most hockey players, Dan wasn't popping up as quick as he could to get off that goalie. I mean, someone pushes you on the goalie, you're gonna take your time getting up, so I just threw the puck in the net, but they end up calling the goal off and giving us a penalty for it.
It appears the Arrows are getting a penalty, and that would be in the category of unbelievable.
Nearing the end of the second period, the Arrows ran into penalty trouble.
And now we're going to have a penalty in behind the play. It appears is going to be a tripping penalty at the end of that second period.
Through 40 minutes, shots are tied 24 apiece. Both teams are so close.
We went into the third period 1-1, and basically what it came down to, and I'm sure Raj said it in the room, is we win a period and we win the conference.
The third period would begin with 4-on-4 play, with Byrne and Augustine up front and Barry and MP on the back end.
I just remember me and McLean were pissed off at each other in the box.
Of the two people that you want in the box at that time, we are not the two of them.
I'm like, you're an idiot, and he goes, well, you're an idiot.
He was pissed that I took the penalty. I'm like, well, look at yourself, kind of thing. Like, you know, we're both sitting here.
It was really early in that third period. I remember bouncing a pass back to MP at the point, and when MP shot, most of us knew it wasn't going in.
MP did the right thing, just get it on net. And I think because of the screen, great big fat rebound.
Back to the point.
Me and McLean are all of a sudden hugging in the penalty box, and we're all happy. So.
And we both just look at each other, big hug, and we were like, this is amazing.
Probably the hardest I've ever seen somebody hit a puck.
And he just stepped in and absolutely unloaded a bomb.
That has to be one of the hardest shots I've ever seen.
I mean, if that would have hit the goalie, it probably would have knocked him in.
Barry buried it.
Just like that, we're up 2-1, we're in a real good spot, and we had 19, 18 minutes left that play some defensive hockey.
With their season on the line, the Vikings pressed even harder and fired more shots towards Miksic.
In goes Henry. Go right out in front of the net. And a block by the Arrows. Loose puck. Manning on it. It's loose. Back to Laurent. And it's blocked. Moulton. And does Joel Adam. Puts it out in front of the net. It's right there. 10:32 to go in the third. Game 6. The Arrows clinging to a 2-1 lead over the Castleman Vikings.
With time winding down, the pressure from the Vikings only increased. With less than 9 minutes to go, overager Greg Harding showed what playoff hockey is all about.
He'd do anything it took to win a hockey game, and he slid in front of that slap shot.
Back to the point and just a shot. Oh, nice play by Harding to block it, but he is down and felt that one.
One of the things I remember the most, that black shot.
Commitment on that was astounding. I feel like he could have probably gone in a way that would have been less painful to himself.
Well, the block shot. Oh, the shot the one thing I did on the ice. Well, it's actually funny because, you know, I didn't get a lot of ice time. And I was like, if he gets a shot off, I'm never going to see the ice again. So I had to get out there. And it hit me right in the stomach, and puck went out. I had to get off the ice because it hurt.
He got up and dragged himself to the bench, but that's a team guy.
And here's four Vikings coming in. They're going in. There's shot short side on Miksic. There's the crowd. Henry, his shot goes wide. 4.5 minutes to go in the third. Neil on the outboards. McLaughlin couldn't find it. Beauchamp Lalonde couldn't find it. Here's Epi. 2 assists, the only multi-point.
I was at the blue line, gliding it, I think, and I seen Empey coming, and I was just waiting for him to get over the red line, and Empey read the play, seen what was happening, and he just dumped it in, and we had this play where it hits the back of the boards, and it bounces right out into the slot. So that's where I was heading for. I was heading right for the slot. And I don't know how it went in. I didn't get to see it. It must have hit the back of a skate or something.
David Empey was a guy that in practice was constantly trying to dump the puck in wide of the net and have it come out into the slot. That was an old David Empey trick. He would always do that every practice.
And he picked one hell of a game to make that work.
But what happened was he dumped the puck in and it came back out in the slot, but it hit the goaltender in the back of the skate and into the net.
It just seemed like the most innocent play ever.
Well, none of us knew it went in. Emerson skates by and sees the puck in the net and throws his arms in the air. Like nobody knew what happened.
It's just pure excitement.
I mean, the perfect bounce. We just got it when we needed it the most.
Here's Empey. 2 assists, the only multi-point.
While I was studying, I was watching. They had kind of a live tracker at the time going on, so I was kind of refreshing that like a madman.
We were playing good enough hockey that night that they weren't going to score 2 goals in 4 minutes.
And the atmosphere in the building, it's getting louder and the more arrow chants.
Okay, we're close and they pushed pretty hard. They put a good push on for like a minute. We chipped the puck out and then all of a sudden they didn't try to counter it.
You know, once it was a foregone conclusion that the Athens Arrows were going to be the 2013 champions on home ice before their fans, packed house, to be able to call along those final seconds, you get caught up in the emotion.
Standing just outside the hash marks, just quickly checking the time.
I think everyone expected Castman to beat us and probably beat us in 5 or 6 games.
I had lost 4 times there. I was ready to win now. We finally made it over that hump. It was a great experience for sure.
St. Lawrence Division Trophy, their 3rd in their existence. The Athens Arrows are your 2012-13 champions.
The players giving Jimmy the trophy, that was a huge and respected moment. That was a nice tribute from the players to do that.
He deserved it, right? You know, he'd put more time in that rink than any of us.
Yeah, it was just cool to see the whole town kind of come together and just be a part of the Athens Arrows.
We had some fucking demanding moments. We asked a lot of you guys to get fucking through this series, and you gave us what we fucking needed. You delivered in a 3rd period, 20 minutes away, and you've got respect. You hear me?
Reward yourself tonight for a great job. Oh, fuck
yes. Been in this round 5 fucking times. I lost it. I have a bad record here, but it's about fucking
It's what it's all about, boys.
Like, it was just pure elation at that point in time and excitement. Like, I wasn't even thinking about the fact that there was still like another round in playoffs. To me, like I was satisfied at that point.
Yeah, well, it was kind of weird the way it happened. So after we'd won the conference, they put us in a meaningless 4 exhibition game series against South, and we didn't really have any. No.
Well, you know, it was a great moment for us to get there. Obviously, that was huge, and everybody wanted to be there. But at that time in the league, you don't really ever play the other side of the league. So it was kind of one of those things where it was a huge unknown to us. I remember like hearing though, they like just literally swept 2 rounds in a row. It's like, oh geez, like, you know, these guys are obviously on a roll, you know, like I feel like that gave us like the sense going in that it was a little hopeless for us, you know, like you don't want to say that, but like they were good.
That was a very high-powered team. I mean, it's not often you play against a junior B team where one of the guys had played in the NHL as recently as this year. And
all 4 of their lines were equivalent to like first lines on a lot of teams in the league.
You know, like obviously we were going to go out there and try our best, and you know, we kept it competitive for some of it, you know, but
in Game 1 of the series, the Arrows held a 2-2 tie going into the second period. The final score would be 6-3 for the Junior Canadians. A promising 3-1 lead for the Arrows in Game 2 turned to a 5-3 loss. An overtime win for the Junior Canadians in Game 3 pushed the Arrows to the brink of elimination.
I mean, it's incredibly difficult to go down 3-0 in a series, and I know for all the overagers in Game 4, like as soon as they get the first goal of the game, it's in your head. It's, you know what, we got as far as we could. This is going to be it.
Although the Arrows gave it their all, they would be swept by the Ottawa Junior Canadians in the EOJHL Finals. The Arrows' remarkable playoff run would come to an end.
It was extremely disappointing, like at the end of it all, obviously to work to get that far and then, you know, not pan out that well at the end, but I'm still extremely proud of, you know, like what we achieved that season, regardless of how that last series went.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, we went as far as we could and take a lot of pride in that at least.
Like that team is going to go down in Athens as the team that did something that hadn't been done in 20 years.
It ended up turning into arguably one of the best hockey memory that I have.
If it was just that group of guys, that's one thing, but that plus the fact that we were a winning team, and that was just so surreal.
I read an article, and they had a quote in this article. Every player can't be the best player, but every player gets the opportunity to be the best teammate. That is something that I've really treasured, I guess, in the sense of being with the Arrows, is we had great teammates. Everybody supported one another. Everybody had each other's back. You played with your heart and you played for each other.
Like going into that run, like, and looking back on it now, like at kind of the time I didn't really appreciate it. Like, you know, like now it's like, man, like what you wouldn't give to go back there and just experience it again.
In the end, each of the players faced their dreaded last game of junior hockey.
It's a really tough feeling, and it's hard not to be overcome with emotion when it happens.
I was just standing in my crease alone on the ice for probably 10-15 minutes because I couldn't bring myself off the ice because I knew as soon as I stepped off that it was over then.
We got swept in the first round, and you know, the final game was in overtime, so just kind of in an instant it was all over. And I mean, it was kind of a bitter feeling that, you know, hockey gave up on you rather than you giving up on it.
if I had the opportunity to have continued playing, I'd probably still be playing to this day.
It's a little tough when you love a game that doesn't love you back at sometimes, so getting knocked out in the first game of the playoffs was extremely tough. At that point in my career, with my concussion history, I had already had one that year, and that definitely affected me psychologically going into games. I was a little happy to just to not have to worry about that.
I had to make it, unfortunately, on my terms. It was kind of time where I needed to buckle down on school and couldn't keep making the travel and, you know, cutting that time out to be able to really dedicate myself to hockey.
Hockey was such a big part of my life for so long. It definitely felt like the end of a bit of an era, like the end of a part of my life in a sense.
You know, playing men's league just isn't the same. It's a lot of fun with the boys, but you know, there's that certain edge that's kind of missing.
Like from my perspective, when you go out trying to play for your hometown team, there was a lot of work put in to get there. Like I wasn't gonna be good enough to be there. I really had to work at it. I had my mom and dad push me, whether it was like 10 in the morning, my mom would text me and say, "Did you run this morning?" Or dad would be like, "Did you drag your tire today?" When it's all come over, like you got nothing, like your goals are done. It was pretty hard.
I guess, you know, winning in 2013 was special because it was nice to go out on top. And, you know, for us as a family, we were expecting our first grandchild in 2013. So I guess it kind of comes full circle. So for me, I knew it was time to move on. So, and that was my time to step away. But we had very many special moments.
Through all the highs and lows of junior hockey, there are endless lessons to be learned and moments to be cherished.
If I were to say to like a young kid who wants to play, it's the best experience of your life. Like you make amazing friends.
Take advantage of the fact that you have all of this ice time and all this opportunity to, you know, be with your friends and be on the ice. You really do look back like missing the chance to do that. Like I know so many guys that I've played with that still now today, we all wish we could still be playing junior hockey. It'll be over before you realize, and you'll have nothing left after but the memories from those times.
Just take it all in, because you only get it for at most 5 years. Just take every bit of it.
You get to work on your leadership skills, you get to work on your teamwork, all things that are applicable to when you're in the real world and you're working and you're going to school. The junior hockey experience can give you a whole lot more than just playing hockey on a Friday night.
For many players, junior hockey is the last bridge before entering the real world.
I'm getting some updates on the players and what they're doing and who's having children and you know, who's doing what and who's working at where.
Yeah, this is Carter Rory Craig. Being a dad is the best thing. When he came along, it was just kind of like it's life changing. I don't know. Maybe he'll be another hockey player. Maybe he'll be the next 26 wearing the Arrows jersey. Hey, but I hope you play a cheaper sport.
Basically, after I was done hockey, started riding bulls, and since then I've started riding saddle bronc horses and started kind of team roping and messing around with it and stuff.
I'm an automotive service technician at Gan Chev in Gananoque, and I work part-time on the weekends on the family farm. So yeah, I got the son Landon. It's pretty cool being a dad, and really excited for the rink days to come, bringing him to the rink.
I just started as a security consultant with TELUS about 6 months ago. So it was really weird getting a job in the middle of the pandemic, but you know, everything's worked out pretty well so far. Just bought a house, you know, kind of taking those next steps into the full adult life.
So after junior hockey and finishing up at the University of Ottawa, I'm now working for the federal government of Canada.
So I'm an accountant now. I work for Lockheed Martin. So I've been there 2.5 years now. I enjoy the work I do and see some good opportunity with where I'm at.
Well, I am a neurosurgeon. the youngest in Canada. Not quite. Right now, I am in the world of sales. I sell lighting and controls for commercial buildings all throughout the city of Ottawa and all over the valley and areas like that. So
I work for City of Ottawa, in rinks, so I see all this hockey going on, which keeps the hockey memories keep going and rolling. So
living pretty well. I live with my girlfriend out in the country and making a good living with Reliance.
Decided that I wanted to be a police officer. It's a dream come true. It's like the opportunity to change people's lives through community policing and interacting with the public, kind of like exactly what we did at Athens. And actually, it's funny, I put that on my resume of community involvement because I remember we'd go out to Christmas parades and that was always so fun, interacting with the little kids and they'd look up to you and we're wearing our jerseys.
So my full-time job, I work for Jog Athletics. We manufacture custom jerseys and apparel. And then outside of that, I work for Endeavour Sports Group, mentoring coaches and players, kind of giving back to what I received when I was coming up, trying to guide them in the right direction. And I'm also right now coaching with the Iron Prior Packers Junior B, so it's great to be back in the league.
I'm still in the same position that I was when I retired in 2013. Still a clinical manager for addictions and mental health here in Brockville, Ontario. At the time that I stepped away from the Arrows, we were expecting our first grandchild. And as far as now, I have 4 lovely grandchildren.
So, when you play that much hockey for that long, it's like a new part of your life starts. Decided to go to Algonquin College. I got into the architecture field. So a couple of my jobs have been, things millions of people see. I worked on the Parliament buildings. Quite an experience to go from, being a hockey player and that's what you do, to transition into a different life where, you go to school and you're literally a nobody, nobody knows you, nobody knows what you've done, It's not like you're walking through the hallways in Athens and everybody knows you anymore, right? So.
I think it was a Jerry Seinfeld interview when someone asked him recently, how do you still keep coming up with content after all these decades? I'm going to paraphrase, but I think his answer was something like, I went out and did the one thing that will always give me something to complain about and have content, and that was get married and have kids. Because they're awfully needy, they're awfully expensive. But no, on a serious note, completely changed his life. What's really neat right now is my oldest, he's 4 years old and has his first year in hockey this year. So we're starting to make our own traditions right now. We've got our pump up songs when we're driving to the rink and being part of that and just seeing the ultimate joy in his eyes and remembering what that was like when I was his age. This is Raylan Grace Parker. She's the youngest to 2 big brothers that I'm sure you're gonna teach how to play sports and how to be tough. She's 3 days old. The 3 of them and my beautiful wife, Jess. Life is great.
Now I'm the head coach and general manager of the West Carleton Rivermen of the Eastern Ontario Super Hockey League. Coaching some of the guys that I played with, JP Augustine, Mark Craig, Greg Harding, Steve Parker, Eric Miksic. It's really cool to stay involved, and it's definitely a different perspective being behind the bench. I get to yell at guys for not doing things that I never would have done myself.
He doesn't stick to the X's and O's, nor would we ever listen, and frankly he doesn't have the talent to be able to dictate the rest of the guys that do. Yeah, Mike.
But yeah, it's an absolute blast, and it's a great way to stay involved with the game for sure.
Pulling into that parking lot for the first time, I don't think I really clued in how big of an impact that town would have on my life.
Didn't realize putting the Arrows jersey on that first time would end up meaning so much later on down the road.
And here's Lacroix, and he's done it, goal!
I honestly loved it. Like, it was an amazing experience. I obviously started when I was 16 and I finished an overager, but I wish I could have been there longer.
Like, he felt like kind of a half celebrity being from Athens, but I miss that, and I really miss the guys.
You know, when I look back on the Arrows, I'm so grateful for everything that it's provided for me. You know, not just the memories, but the friendships that continue to this day, and honestly, I can confidently say will continue for a lifetime.
I was really thankful to be given the opportunity, considering I was sitting on the sidelines for the first month of the season that year. You know, I wasn't even sure if I was going to get to play junior hockey again at that point. It was seriously crossed my mind, so I was very thankful for the opportunity. I was very thankful for some of the people I've met. I've made some lifelong friends. It has lasting impact on my life playing for that team.
Shot, Radon scores!
When you go through stuff like that, you kind of build friendships that last, and I think that's really been the case for myself and the guys who were on that team. You know, still stay in touch, still go out on the golf course and have a beer and reminisce about the old times.
First year I played in Athens, that was the best, well, most fun year of hockey I've ever had in my entire life.
Just how well they treated us in Athens. I mean, that made it all that more special.
I couldn't believe that they gave me this framed sweater at the banquet. The fact that they did that for me was, I have so much respect for that organization.
Like, it was more of a big family.
You know, we always talk about support. Players are player supports, players have family supports. I guess for me, you know, I want to kind of say thank you to my family too, because they let me kind of live my passion for 15 years. So between Eleanor and Courtney and Kylie and my son-in-laws Jeff and Brian, I want to say thank you to them too. So that's what it's all about.
I think about all of the people that make small town hockey possible. The GMs, the coaches, the equipment managers, the guys, the volunteers, the community, the time, the resources, the passion that goes into making it happen so that guys like me can finish playing out their passion, their dream of hockey. I am sincerely grateful.
A small town with a big heart, and I'd go back and do it in a heartbeat.
Murray did a lot of stats for the team. And he provided us booklets and information and stats galore. And that was very beneficial. And I know Roger and Nick looked at that all the time and used that in a lot of game situations. So I guess for me, you know, it was a big thank you to Murray. Another thank you that I would like to give out to is JP's mother, because I saw her at many rinks taking videos And I know we do appreciate all these extra videos to make our memories that much more special.